Sung Jinwoo went from a 0 Rizz to unlimited in just a few months, but he didn't just catch any lucky girl. She's an S-rank hunter, she's a vice guild master, and now she is a mother to a kid who is stronger than even Jinwoo.
She's an icon, she's a legend, and she is the moment.
But if you have seen the anime, Jinwoo is very popular with the ladies. He could have picked up anyone. Any room he walked into, he left with a flood. But he picked Cha Hae-in, the baddest of them all.
It should have been me, not him! It's not fair!
We first see Cha Hae-in in the anime when she's stopping a robbery with her OP S-rank hunter skills, but that's just the tip of the iceberg because she's arguably the strongest hunter in Korea right after Jinwoo. Gotoru Yuji, the strongest Japanese hunter, even acknowledged her skills, stating that Cha Hae-in is powerful enough to compete with his guild's strongest. And these are the same people who did this to the Korean S-ranks.
It's not looking good, Bev.
Cha Hae-in was even strong enough to be recognized by the Ant King as a possible threat. So with all these accolades, of course, she deserves to be Jinwoo's wife. Yup, she got bagged and snagged, and now she's carrying his baby. And it all begins in their first encounter in chapter 67. Jinwoo at this point was already beyond broken. Like, this dude was above S rank at this point of the story. So for a nice day out, he wants to enter an A rank dungeon just so he can mine in it. This is when Cha Hae-in is introduced, and she gets instantly curious about him for one reason: his smell.
Hold up. Wait a minute. Something ain't right.
Turns out that Cha Hae-in suffers from a unique problem. She has an extremely sensitive sense of smell towards mana, which is why she finds hunters and monsters very stinky. She just couldn't stand them, which is why it was unexpected for her when she realized that Jinwoo did not smell at all. Since all creatures have a certain scent to them, Jinwoo's lack of it was odd and basically another hint at how he was not human at all. This situation drew Cha Hae-in's interest to the point that she asked if Jinwoo really was a hunter and had to check his rank, wondering if that was the reason for this weird occurrence. More importantly, she became very skeptical when out of all places in this huge dungeon, somehow this E-rank miner Jinwoo ended up at the boss's lair. And furthermore, she could not believe her eyes as she was sure she saw a weapon in his hand, but it simply disappeared. Hence, she wanted to do an investigation on him. In the worst case, Jinwoo could be a spy from another guild, but it turns out that his file was classified to even her. This was odd because no weak-ass hunter like Jinwoo should have a secret file. Even though she couldn't find anything worthwhile on Jinwoo, Cha knew she was onto something, especially as her guildmaster Choi Jung-in also wanted to know about Jinwoo. At this point, Cha Hae-in didn't realize she was going to carry this man's seed in her body. What led to this was her curiosity, which got the best of. In chapter 71, Cha decided she was going to search for Jinwoo when coincidentally, she was shocked to learn that Jinwoo was actually filling in as a porter for her guild's very own strike squad. After all, Jinwoo was still officially an E-rank hunter, and this particular gate was another A-rank one, so something fishy was definitely going on here. This then leads our homegirl to go inside the dungeon for herself, even on her day off, and almost without a weapon. It's crazy how far she was willing to go just for another quick sniff at Jinwoo.
Hold on, wait, hey!
By the time Cha Hae-in arrived at the boss's lair, Jinwoo was already popping off. He had a bunch of summoned shadows clashing with the High Orc's army, which was insane to witness. Jinwoo's skill as a summoner mage was so beyond that of others who could only handle 1 or 2 beasts at most that Cha Hae-in was utterly flabbergasted. As she asked everyone to leave, Jinwoo jumped into butting heads with the High Orc's leader himself. Bro was clearing an A-rank dungeon completely on his own, leaving everyone losing their minds, as even Cha Hae-in was grasping at straws to know more about Jinwoo, because this A-rank dungeon and this A-rank boss, even though it's an A-rank, it's at a caliber that even the ultimate hunter Choi Jung-in says that he would have trouble against a boss like that. He literally says he probably would have lost. But Jinwoo has that badass Rizz, and Cha had started to develop feelings for him as she was literally in awe of how powerful he was.
Oh my.
After researching and finding out that Jinwoo is actually an S-rank hunter, the suspicions eased away, and instead her emotion started developing further into a full-out crush. She witnessed more of Jinwoo, however, it was one-sided love for a long time. But what started to really get her gushing over Jinwoo was in chapter 92. During the so-called friendly spar between Korea's S-rank against the Japanese S-ranks, Cha Hae-in was heroically saved by Prince in black armor, Jinwoo. It wasn't until the Jeju Island raid arc that we finally see Jinwoo think about Cha Hae-in in chapter 104. Yep, she has been chasing him for 30 plus chapters and he didn't even know who she was until now, bro.
Your life is nothing. You serve zero purpose.
However, his eyes would open when the Korean hunters invaded the Ants base and killed the queen. In response, Cha Hae-in was severely injured by the Ant King's attack. However, when Jinwoo defeated the boss, he once again came to his future wife's rescue. The situation was pretty bad because Jinwoo wanted to save her at any cost, but he was running out of options. Since he had never attempted a shadow exchange alongside another person, he didn't know if it worked. Plus, the cooldown period of this skill was still active. On top of that, even if he took his dragon Kaisel to fly out of there, he didn't have enough time to bring her back to the mainland for a doctor. There was no healer alive either, but that's when an idea struck him. He was going to summon the shadow of a healer. Now, Jinwoo has a couple of codes he has sworn by, one of which was never to summon human shadows unless they were horrible people like this motherfucker. So this was a huge decision for him, since Jinwoo would never go against his morality for some random person. It tells us that he had started seeing Cha Hae-in as someone special, at least more than others. Thus, he asked his shadows to find the body of Min Byung-yu, a healer who had joined the Donut Club. However, Jinwoo's first two attempts at arising him failed because Byung-yu was strongly opposed to becoming a shadow soldier, believing it to be immoral. However, Jinwoo was determined to save his Pookie Bear, just like me in Valorant. She was barely alive at this point with like literally 5 HP, so with his earnest motive, he summoned Byung-yu again, and this time it worked. In fact, his shadow rose up and instantly started healing Cha Hae-in without Jinwoo even commanding it to do so. After this event, Cha Hae-in's love for Jinwoo was at an all-time high. In fact, we come to learn in chapter 112 that Cha Hae-in was constantly stalking him through the news and thinking about him. Cha even remarked that she didn't find him to be a bad person, although he was getting a lot of hate online for ruining Min Sung's press conference. In fact, Cha Hae-in had tried to not worry or think about Jinwoo as much, but every time he was around, she found herself paying attention to him as he stood out to her like a burst of color in a grayscale world. And to make this color more permanent, she wanted to join Jinwoo's new guild, Jin. So she just barges into the building to join with no invitation while they were looking for a third member. But Jinwoo wasn't buying this at all and was super confused as to why an S-rank hunter of Cha Hae-in's level would consider joining a new guild like his when she was a vice captain at Korea's #1 guild. He was so perplexed by this that bro began wondering if Go Gun-hee had put her up to it or if Choi Jung-in had kicked her out of the Hunters Guild. In fact, the most confusing part was Cha Hae-in's body language. Not only was her heart beating fast and her breathing was uneven, but she also couldn't look Jinwoo in the eye. And I know all of us suffer from this when we try to talk to our crush, but I have a solution for you guys. Use code ABD to get 22% off and drink some gamer subs. This guacamole gamer fart flavor will give you all the energy you need to talk to your Pookie Bear. So don't be like Cha Hae-in, who didn't drink her gamer subs, leading her to be extremely flustered and unable to control her body language. This entire thing to Jinwoo appeared hella sus as he began doubting her motives, pointing out that she had only been a hunter for 2 years. That would make it too early for her contract with the Hunters Guild to have expired. So if she joined another guild in between this, the breach of contract would cost her a massive amount of money in penalties. But she was like, yeah, I'm rich enough to pay all that. It's fine. Let me join your guild, homie. Bruh, she was down bad, bro. Somebody should have intervened in this conversation, bro, because they kept making excuses to each other, like Jinwoo saying they couldn't pay her in advance, which Cha Hae-in didn't even want. This dude Jinwoo needs to get a hint, bro. The system, Ashbourne, the architect, why didn't they give him the ability to sniff this shit out, bro? This is sad. But seriously though, when Jinwoo asked what Cha Hae-in even had to gain from going to such lengths, she didn't have a sane answer. Like, what was she gonna say? It was love at first smell?
Smells nice.
Adding to her feelings about Jinwoo, we also learned that after nearly dying to the Ant King, the fear of death had totally gripped her. But Jinwoo saving her was the light at the end of the tunnel. Any vulnerability she had vanished with his presence. She had utterly fallen for him. Being on the verge of dying in the Jeju Island raid made Cha Hae-in realize how precious life was and that she could lose it at any day. But the only person she wanted to be next to until that time was Sung Jin Goat. However, no matter how strongly she felt about this, there was no way a reserved and introverted person like her could come out and confess so easily. This clearly drove her mad as she started blushing and struggling in front of Jinwoo, who was getting more confused by the minute. Stupid! Bro started a whole conspiracy theory in his head when he saw Cha Hae-in's red face. He wondered if she had planned all this long ago with some ulterior motives. Hence, he asked her again why she was going to such lengths, but the only acceptable answer she could give without revealing a lot was that she wanted to live a comfortable life. And yet again, Jinwoo was like,
Look, lady, whatever you're selling, I ain't buying, yo.
After Jinho suggested the reason for Cha joining could be because her guild overworked her, Jinwoo started thinking that her S-rank status could have been an unbearable burden on her. He even remembered to factor in how Cha's recent injury must have impacted her. Well, no matter how sorry he felt for Cha Hae-in, Jinwoo didn't want to take any risk with her joining, so he made up a random entrance test on the spot. This dude is so dense, bro. Oh my god. But Cha's Nindo, her ninja way was to never back down and never give up, as she simply agreed to the test of taking down a summoned beast of Jinwoo. This even surprised Jin, making him wonder if she was actually serious or just stubborn. In fact, Cha felt that Jinwoo was underestimating her, so he promised to choose his strongest beast. Well, okay, he actually doesn't send out his strongest beast, because Jinwoo still had a bit of pity and wanted to avoid traumatizing his future wife by summoning Beru, the Ant King, who almost killed her just a few weeks ago. Hence, he called upon Igris, which to Jinwoo's surprise, she made light work of. Like, bro, she defeated Igris with the Demon King's sword and she is busted. This completely stunned Jinwoo. Like, she's bad as and she can fight. What the f? But to make matters more unbelievable, Cha ordered Jinwoo to summon Beru, and she wanted her rematch. This bold brilliance had taken Jinwoo back one more time. So after giving her one last warning, he summoned the Ant King. But as he pulls out his claws to defeat Cha, Jinwoo instantly threatens him. He wanted Beru to fight without hurting her at all. And if that didn't happen, Jinwoo swore he would make Beru's life extremely hard. No more Korean dramas for him. This shows that Jinwoo had so much faith in Cha's skills that he just couldn't deny her request to fight Beru, but he also wanted to protect her without compromising her honor, which is why he's taken aback when Cha doesn't step back from battle despite witnessing the overwhelming difference between her and Beru's skills, as she wasn't even at her 100% yet. She kept pushing and got close enough to actually land a serious hit on Beru with all her mana. The shadow completely lost control as his instinct kicked in, going against Jinwoo's commands. However, just before he could severely injure Cha, Jinwoo stepped in. This time, he was right on time to save her, but the way she was risking her life for a simple entrance test to a nameless guild made even less sense to him. And he finally started asking the right questions, straight up asking if she wants his big black shadow. This flustered Cha Hae-in, but being unable to hold back, she blurted out the truth. Yes, she wants him.
Yeah, boy.
Jinwoo, on hearing this, gleefully smiles whilst telling her joining his guild isn't the best way to handle this. Instead, there should be a better way. Obviously, this drove Cha Hae-in crazy out of embarrassment for confessing her feelings. She's literally just like every other girl after having a crush. On the other hand, Jinwoo also starts evaluating his looks and assessing his attractiveness.
I'm so tired of being here.
But while Cha Hae-in is having her meltdown, she remembers Bingyu's words when he was healing her. He left a note for Jinwoo to her, saying that he should be careful of the power within him. All you Chads who have our notification bell on will know from this video, Jinwoo isn't human, that Jinwoo is not a human, but the vessel for a monster, the Shadow Monarch Ashborn. Cha Hae-in had forgotten this message until now, but at this point, it's just another excuse to go and meet up with Jinwoo, right? So, cause she needs to tell him this message. But the chance to do this didn't come until chapter 123, where she unexpectedly ran into him. More like, she had left her car in the parking lot of Jinwoo's office back from the time of the entrance test, but she freaked out when she saw Jinwoo. As soon as Cha Hae noticed him, she turned to run away, yet Jinwoo instantly reached for her, demanding to know why she was doing so. While Jinwoo was in thought, out of nowhere, Cha Hae-in asks him out. Alright, they're finally making some moves here. It was about time because she was jealous as hell. That's right, she was totally envious of this girl, Yoo Soo-hyun. This chick was actually a model as well as an A-rank hunter. In chapter 121, we were introduced to her as Jinho's cousin and ambassador for his father's guild. Jinho ended up recruiting her to their guild, where she was completely on board as soon as she came to know about the owner, even going as far as to take and post a picture with Jinwoo on her Instagram. This is why Cha Hae-in was burning up in jealousy with a ton of questions on her mind as to why he took a picture with her or hired her in the first place. Why her and not Cha Hae-in? Isn't she a better candidate? She's an S-rank hunter. She's probably the strongest hunter in all of Korea after Jinwoo. So why the hell pick this A-rank nobody? Are they dating or something? Like all these questions going on her mind. But once again, Cha Hae-in couldn't ask any of this or she would appear insane. So she just stated that she wanted to convey Bingyu's message to him. The biggest contributor to this ship is literally this healer. This guy, he made the ship sail. Hearing that this was about his powers, Jinwoo instantly took interest with that. Oh, my powers? Tell me more. Told him about the dark nature of his monster abilities. This created a new goal for Jinwoo as he wanted to discover the root of his power. After these events, they fought in quite a few battles, but it wasn't until chapter 170 that we saw a heartwarming moment from Jinwoo. At this point, he had already decided to sacrifice himself and shoulder all the burden of ending the war between the monarchs and the rulers for once. However, he knew that this wouldn't come without a great price, which was that Jinwoo would probably be forgotten by everyone as the world would completely change. So he called Cha Hae-in, reminiscing how they hadn't met in quite some time but promised to do so soon. She made Jinwoo promise that he would come to see her, to which he agreed, stating that he'd come back to her no matter what. And they spend the entire day and night together, going to amusement parks, having a good dinner, going to the woods, at a cabin, all that stuff. Clearly, this was a farewell promise from Jinwoo to her before throwing himself into a massive war beyond anyone's imagination. As this came to an end, he made another shocking decision. He asked the rulers to use the Cup of Reincarnation, a magical tool that could turn back time 10 years so that he could kill the monarchs before they ever came to Earth and stop all the deaths they caused. As is evident, this would restore everyone's lives to a decade ago with no memory of Jinwoo. He himself returned back to him as a kid, but with a mammoth purpose. He had to enter the world of endless darkness and stay until he killed all the monarchs, which was a total time of 27 years. The only good news is that since time moved differently on Earth, only 2 years had passed there. However, this disoriented Jinwoo a lot, as even his presence was altering people's lives due to his incredible amount of mana. Even all the hunters from the past timeline were living a normal life now. Just as he was perplexed about his role on Earth and what he should do next, he runs into Cha Hae-in once again. This time, it was Jinwoo's chance to yearn for her, as he even joined the track team in their school in the hopes of meeting Cha Hae-in. Since Jinwoo has never failed at anything in his life after he became a hunter, he succeeds as he comes to Cha Hae-in's rescue once again. When she hurts her ankle on the first day of an athletic meet, Jinwoo healed her. This leads to them talking, and Cha Hae-in reveals that she vaguely recalls knowing and coming across Jinwoo, but can't really place it. In fact, she even notes that he has a really nice scent. Now, you might be wondering, how exactly is this happening? Shouldn't her memories be wiped? Alright, let me explain it. Since like the Cup of Reincarnation is the tool of the rulers, but because they've used it so much, it has kind of like lost lost its power with every use, and this was the last chance to use it, making its power to alter reality significantly weaker. Hence, people like Cha Hae-in and even Go Gun-hee could feel something familiar from their past memories, showing us just how down bad Cha Hae-in had fallen for Jinwoo, that their love transcended even time, which is why he promised to tell her everything when she beats his track time record. This led to their relationship blooming once again, and they finally go out on a date on Christmas. When Jinwoo told her that he was aiming for a certain university to meet a particular person, Cha Hae-in got a little upset, wondering if it was a girl. But this time, she had to know everything about Jinwoo, his thoughts, aspirations, past, and if they had ever met before. Hence, she came up with a master plan to race him to a tree, and if she won, Jinwoo would come clean. But there was a plot twist, as she dared Jinwoo to stay still if he liked her, which had all his shadows laughing their asses off at how Jinwoo lost that something for the first time. Realizing how much he loved Cha Hae-in, went through all their memories together. He caught up with her, and ladies and gentlemen, the moment we've been waiting for this entire video is here. They finally kissed.
I'm talking about this shit means something to me, man.
And afterwards, Jinwoo even took her out on a ride. I mean, they flew in the sky on Kaisel's back, something that Jinwoo himself had foreshadowed as he opened up to Cha Hae-in about everything. This was only the start for them, because they got married, and in chapter 191, they have a son called Sung Soo-ho. And let me tell you, this dude is going to surpass his father, because later we have a sequel where Sung Soo-ho becomes faster than light, stronger than anyone we have ever seen, as he faces off against multi-dimensional gods. I mean, what else could you expect from the son of the top 2 hunters of the entire world? Anyways, if you guys enjoyed this, be sure to check out the video on Jinwoo and all his abilities. Like, this dude is beyond broken. Every single one of his abilities is devastating, so go check that video out, and his shadows.